Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Richard Murphy, and I am the Global Director for Nokia.com and eCommerce. I'm based in London and Helsinki. 2/3 of my team are in Helsinki. And in every public speaking thing that you go to, they say it's really important to start off with an icebreaker, something that helps you bond with the audience. So I asked my team if they would come up with something that was typically Finnish, that was going to help me bond with the audience, so kind of the presentational equivalent of small talk. Now, have we got any Finns in the room today? Anybody from Finland? Okay, this is good. Okay, so the Finns are notoriously direct. Think about Kimi Räikkönen last year saying, "Leave me alone, I know what I'm doing." They're not being rude, they're just very direct. So when I said to them, could you put something together for me to help me out? They said, yes, it's extra work, but we don't mind doing it as long as you promise to use it. And this is what they came up with. So, on to today. 3 things I'm going to talk to you about. Marketing trends that we're seeing, driving change through an organization, and we as a business have gone through and are going through an enormous amount of change at the moment, so we wanted to share some of the experiences, and also some of the practical things that we're doing at the moment. Now, I think there are some signs that we're seeing, and we've been seeing them for years now. The shift of advertising spend is going on to the internet side of things. We're also seeing that there is a change in where and when people are accessing the internet. There's so much more mobile usage coming in now. This is from our India team, sent this through to me. This is actually a few months out of date now, and the last time I pulled the numbers, we're actually starting to see 2 to 1 in terms of mobile usage versus desktop usage going in there as well. And then we get to social media. Now, can I just do a quick show of hands in the audience? How many people in the room are under the age of 30? Okay. And how many people in the room are prepared to admit that they are over 40? Okay. So what we have is a large digital native audience in here and a few digital migrants. And there's a huge amount of stuff going on, and it is quite scary. And I think this is a good way of showing the type of stuff we've got going on at the moment. So, did anybody find the amount of information you just took in a little bit intimidating? You know, a lot of facts that you just got there. Huge amount of stuff that were coming in. Now, I suspect that the digital natives in this room were kind of saying, well, you know, tell me something I didn't know already. But for people who are of a slightly older generation, what's going on around them feels very difficult. And I think it's interesting when you start to look at how the world has changed in terms of the way in which people get their information. In the 1800s, it was all word of mouth, down the local marketplace, swapping the gossip. Then, of course, you get into the print, you get into the newspapers and magazines, which was then taken over by radio, which was then hugely taken over by television. And in the mid-90s, we started to get websites. Huge amount of change. The eagle-eyed amongst you, though, will have noticed that this timeline along the bottom isn't really true. And actually, it looks like this. And I think this is the important thing to note here, is that everything is changing, and changing massively, and changing at a speed that humankind isn't used to. And that's when it becomes scary for big organizations. Now, this eminent gentleman here is Charles Darwin, and of course, to paraphrase, he was saying, it's not the strongest who'll survive, it's not even the most intelligent, it's those who are most adaptable to change. And that's one of the things that Nokia has found. In 2007, we commanded roughly 60% market share of all the mobile phones sold in the world. And then a little new phone called the Apple iPhone was launched. Oh, how we laughed. And it's transformed the way in which we do the business. You know, our business is smaller, our business is having to adapt, and is having to realize that unless you understand what people are asking for, what people want, that just continuing to push out what you do with speed and, you know, accuracy, and they were very good at all of that, it's not going to be good enough. So we've been going through a huge amount of change. And change for an organization is, in fact, scary. And part of the problem with digital transformation is that everything is invisible. I find that the social media thing, I'm only just starting to get to grips with it because I've had to come to it late. And I wasn't really up for posting stuff on Facebook. I'm not really a big Twitter user. It's good for getting news feeds and understanding, but I didn't really get it. And part of this goes into, and I think that the digital natives in the room, when you're trying to drive change through an organization, you will just get it. You will get what's going on with digital. It's the way in which you communicate, it's the way in which you organize nights out, it's the way in which you discuss what happened on the nights out. That's natural to you. It's not natural to people who are 40. There will be people who are culturally cool with it and will go, you know, it's not an age thing, it's an attitude thing. But it is more difficult if you haven't grown up with it. And with digital, it's invisible. So if you look at the retail environment, I started work at Tesco. That's where my first job was. And we used to spend loads of times in the shops just watching what people put into their basket. We could see what was popular by the gaps on the shelves that needed to be filled up. We knew what was going on because we could spend time just watching how people were going there. We could say, there's a person who's a young mother because she's got nappies and baby food and stuff in her thing. There's a single person over there, they've got loads of meals. We could see it and we could predict it. It doesn't happen like that in the digital world. So we've got to find a way of making the invisible visible. And we've got to make it visible to senior management and senior people within the organization so that they can get what needs to happen. And that's one of the challenges we've faced. So what did we do? Well, we decided that we would use marketing capability levers. This is good corporate speak. We felt safe when we started talking about marketing capability levers. And we put a mission together. We needed to build digital growth. And we said we've got behavior and culture, and we have a strategy in the middle. That's all good. So let's find the 4 levers. We had accountability. Well, who would disagree? You need digital accountability. That's got to be a great thing. So we, bearing in mind I'm in a global team, we fired out all sorts of missives to the local market saying somebody needs to be accountable. It's got to work. And they all went, yeah, great. The next thing we need to do is talent development. So we put together a huge amount of work in terms of bringing people in, programs. We need to digitize people, all those lovely, lovely words. Then we need to look at our processes and our process management. We need to do different ways of working. And everybody's going, yeah, that's really good. We need to do that too. And finally, we need to be understanding what the key performance indicators are. And there are so many for digital, that's not going to be difficult, is it? So all good. Does this look good? Is this the kind of way you'd go with it? So we fired it all out to the local markets, and we said, there you go. Here is the answer to life, the universe, and everything digital. And 12 months later, this is what we had. Exactly the same. A PowerPoint slide that existed in certain people's hard drives. Nothing had really changed. And we were quite puzzled by this, because obviously we thought we were brilliant. And what we needed to do was to go in. So we did some research with the teams. And we said, what's actually going on? What is preventing this change from happening? And what we'd been looking at was focusing on the results and the behaviors, the KPIs, the accountability, the ways of working. What we hadn't looked at was what was going on underneath. And this is where it really gets interesting. So we said, well, you know, what do you think about digital? First question was, why are we bothering with this? Now, for those of you under 30, do you think that's a question that you would expect an organization to really ask itself? Why should we bother with digital? Probably not, because you guess it. The next question we said is, well, you know, how do you feel about digital, senior team? They went, you know what? It scares the crap out of me. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to use it. I can't see it. How do I touch it? How do I move with it? And then they said, and that means we don't get what needs to be done differently, nor indeed do we know when we'll have got there and we're being successful. So we had to dig deep. And what we did was, I'm going to take you through this one here, because this is a good example of behavioral change. Now, this is about a 60-second clip, and I was going to set this up. This is from a film called Moneyball. Has anybody seen Moneyball? And this is all about Major League Baseball. And the guy here is the chief exec of the team, and he's talking to Brad Pitt, who's the team manager. Now, they are a very small baseball team, and they don't have the financial firepower to buy all of the best stars. So what they did was they devised a new way of rating players on stats and averages. And instead of going down the traditional route, which was the sort of the massive hitters and the people who could run around the bases the quickest, those were all stats that were developed in the 1920s. They changed the stats that they looked at, and they said, actually, this is more about on-base percentage, things like that. What it meant was that he was able to build a team for $41 million, as opposed to the biggest spenders in the team, who are spending $140 million. And this guy, the chief exec, is saying, this is why you're having a hard time, because what you're doing is revolutionary, and it makes people feel uncomfortable. I hope you can hear this okay.
For $41 million, you built a playoff team. You lost Damon, Giambi, Isringhausen, Pena, and you won more games without them than you did with them. You won the exact same number of games that the Yankees won, but the Yankees spent $1.4 million per win, and you paid $260,000. I know you're taking it in the teeth out there, but the first guy through the wall, he always gets bloody. Always. This is threatening, not just a way of doing business, but in their minds it's threatening the game. But really what it's threatening is their livelihood. It's threatening their jobs. It's threatening the way that they do things. And every time that happens, whether it's a government or a way of doing business or whatever it is, the people who are holding the reins, have their hands on the switch, they go batshit crazy. I mean, anybody who's not tearing their team down right now and rebuilding it using your model, they're dinosaurs.
The people holding the reins will go batshit crazy. It's a great line. And it shows that when you challenge the conventional wisdom with data, that you can do things differently. And I think this is one of the biggest challenges that are facing organizations at the moment, is this need to forget what you know and to learn new ways of doing things. That's why I forced myself to get onto the Facebook thing and Twitter and stuff. I don't feel comfortable doing it, but if I don't do it, then I'm not in touch. I'm no good as a marketeer if I'm not learning how to do these things. So this is what we did. We focused an enormous amount more on behavior and culture. We started to do focus groups with the guys. We actually put people into market. One of the things that we found was that the account managers weren't having the conversations with the customers about our effective share, our fair share. We weren't getting our fair share within the digital space with some of our customers. And we asked the account managers what was wrong. And they said, do you know what? We just don't have the confidence. We don't know, really, what to ask for. What's the digital equivalent of a gondola end that I know I can go and ask for in a store? So what we've done is we've actually taken people who are digital experts from the center and we placed them into our key markets, which is 10 markets, which covers about 85% of our turnover. And we've put people in there. And we're helping people to go through it, to help them not feel stupid, to help them get new tools and techniques and going down things as well. And that's really starting to work quite well for us. But there is another thing for us, key performance indicators. Now, I talked about that earlier on, and I've talked about making the invisible visible. But there is a problem with KPIs. And it's all about making it real. But the problem for me is that just because you can measure it doesn't mean you should. And this is the reason why. This is the kind of stuff that's going on the web in 60 seconds, 168 emails. How do you work out which are the ones that you want to get to? 600 new videos. How many of those are talking about my products? 20,000 new posts on Tumblr. Where's the speed that's going on there? Huge, huge amounts of data. If you're a marketeer and you're looking at this, where do you start? That's been one of the challenges that we've had. So what we've decided to do is to drive down towards simplicity. And we're trying to say that actually it's really important that we don't just talk geek speak, that we understand the geekery behind it, but that we're able to simplify. Because simplification is really difficult, but something we need to get after. And we focused on the consumer. Now, everybody says they focus on the consumer. Some people do, some people don't. We actually commissioned McKinsey to come up with a single consumer decision journey, which looks great. You know, they spent a lot of time on there and they said, we've mapped it out, considering change, initial 13 stages. And this was revolutionary for us because actually we found that different business units and different areas of the business had very different understandings about the end-to-end consumer journey. And part of marketing, of course, is helping nudge people down it towards the route that you want. But we started to use this. Can any of you imagine doing a marketing plan based on that? Each of the stages that you've got, 13 different stages, 13 different campaigns that need to be done in 74 different countries and 44 different languages. It's just too complicated. So we said, right, okay, we need to simplify. We need to get it down from 13 to 9. We need to go down this area. And actually, it's starting to get quite good now. You know, there's a trigger point. Consumers start to re-engage at the end of their contract, or they've decided that the new phone's been launched. They go onto the web, they're searching, they're doing all of their knowledge, they're asking their friends, they're talking to stores. Then they go into the listing, they'll probably take it down to 2 or 3, they'll either go onto line, go into store. So we're starting to know quite well what they're doing. And then, of course, you've got the first 7 days, familiarize yourself, self-exploration, which I always think sounds a little bit iffy, but support, and then expansion and customizing. Okay, we're getting there, but actually, for me, still too complicated. And what we've done is we've taken it down to 4 things. What we're saying is that our marketing only needs to drive 4 outcomes. And outcome is the key word here. So what I'm trying to say is, if my business objective is to increase product consideration, as an OEM, part of our job is to do that. It's very different from when you're doing a B2C thing. You assume people turn up with a certain amount of product consideration. The call to action on our marketing, be it DM, be it banners, be it search terms, be it offline, is learn more. Come and find out more about the product. It's an invitation. That's one, and you can really get behind that. The second thing, of course, is you want people to buy more or buy now. So you use that as a consumer term at the bottom of your marketing. Do more is about getting people to, for us, it's about downloading apps and maps and music and getting usage from the device, actually bonding more closely with the device. And of course, right the way through the cycle, we've got advocacy. Now, that can be offline. More generally, it's online now. That's where people are searching. So we've got tell more. Now, that starts to become really quite manageable. You can actually say to a team, right, you guys, Your job is to focus on getting product and building product consideration. We've got to find a way of measuring it, but that's your job. You can give people jobs to do, and it becomes much more simple. And actually, what you'll find is that they're using very similar tools. You'll still use digital marketing to do learn more and buy now, but now you've got a separation. Now you've got a separation where you can measure the return on investment differently as well. It's quite simple, but actually is quite sophisticated underneath it. Then the question, of course, is, well, how do we measure that success? And of those 4 outcomes that I wanted, I only care about 3 behavioral KPIs. And I use behavioral specifically because, for me, the beauty of digital is you can measure what's going on with everything. And you can talk about product consideration, and you do pre-purchase surveys, and you get out into the street, and you can have thousands of people responding. But they're giving you their opinion of what they might do given a certain set of circumstances. It's opinion-based. What you can do with digital, of course, is make it behavioral-based. So for product consideration, we've got this thing called HQEs, high-quality engagements. We measure what people do when they arrive at our website. And first thing is check the bounce rate. Is the bounce rate high? Why is it high? What's going on? A/B test your landing zones, all of that kind of stuff. The second thing we want them to do is to progress through our corporate website. We want them to become more engaged with the product. So we start to look at the journeys that they're taking. Are they looking at our videos? Are they actually watching 75% of each of the videos that they start? Are they looking at comparison pages? How many times are they looking at comparison pages? Are they going over to the care part of the website and looking up the warranty information? So we can look at each of those things, and we've nominated about 5 or 6 things, the actions of which we can measure in real time, and we say, do those things, and we have a high-quality engagement, and that is a good thing. Build up high-quality engagements. We don't try and draw a linear relationship between HQEs and sales, because that's not going to work. You'll drive yourself nuts trying to do that. And actually, 60 or 70% of the people, depending on the market, up to 90% of people will buy offline anyway. So our job is to drive this product consideration, get people through the website. We can alter our website. We can use A/B and multivariate testing to find the best ways through. That's been quite revolutionary for us. We're really starting to be able to drive some change with that. This one's dead simple. You'll know all of that. Driving leads and converting sales. Now, because we're an OEM, we don't actually sell direct to the public. You have to buy it from a Vodafone or an O2 or anything like that. We sell direct to them. But what we do know is that when people are on our website, they're quite interested in buying our stuff. So we have to be able to provide a way of doing that. And one of the things that we've done is we've, with one of our partners, developed a clever piece of technology that goes out onto our partners' websites, like the Voda website or the O2 website, and every time it finds a Nokia device, it scrapes the data. What's the price of the contract, the length of the contract, how many minutes do you get, all of that kind of stuff, how much data allowance do you get. And we bring that back to our website and format it. So when somebody's on our site and they've decided they want to do that, we present them with a series of options. They click the buy now, they get a list of all of the contracts that are there they can search through. When they've chosen the one they want, they click on that, and that refers out to our partner website, deep into the partner journey, just above the checkout. And the sale gets completed there. Now, we find that that traffic converts 4 times more effectively than any other traffic that our partners will find just ending up on their website. Because people have been through the journey, we provide them sales. But what we're doing is we're measuring our effectiveness, not only of lead generation and we give it a value, but also we put container tags onto our partner websites where they let us do this. And we can actually measure how effectively that has been through and sold. So we can optimize. Optimization is a good thing as well. And then advocacy, the tell more, the social media. How do you bring social media together? We think ultimately it's the number of shares that you get. There's a lot of stuff that you have to go through before you get to a share. You know, often it's about becoming engaged as a fan. Often it's about sort of, doing likes, all of those kind of things. But shares is ultimately what we want to do, so we optimize towards that. And I think the point here is going back to data. The difference, again, between success and failure, as far as we see it, is data. I'll give you an example. When we're looking at the number of leads generated, it's very simple as an outcome, but actually there's a huge amount of data behind that. So you then say, well, what drives sales? Well, it's going to be a combination of traffic, conversion rate, and the average selling price. Simple, eh? But then what's the most cost-effective type of traffic coming through? Where are the parts of your website where you're actually leaking stuff? What are you doing with your product portfolio that's managing to put the higher priced devices in front of people? We use data all of the time to do this. And this is one of my favorite quotes that we have. Torture the data, it will confess. And this is where I find spreadsheets are actually my friend. I much prefer spreadies to PowerPoints any day of the week, because they actually help me understand what's going on within all of the markets that we've got. So I'm just going to give you a quick run through some practical stuff that we're doing in there as well. You know, we're going through this learning and leading, making the invisible visible. This is a good example of what we're doing for the social media illiterates in the business, of which I count myself one. Bunch of stuff going on here. We've set up this thing called Socializer, which is based on an Agora platform. And we just pull together everything in there. And we've got a load of experts. So I've got a guy who sits next to me, because I'm in the remedial class. I've got a guy who sits next to me, and he says, hey, we've got a brewing issue in Taiwan. This is what people are saying out there. What are we going to do about it? And what we've done is we use technology and APIs to make sure that it gets out to the organization. You know, we've got over 100,000 people working the business. We need to be working out how we can get there. So we've got Socialcast. It's a really, really good and powerful tool. It's an internal Facebook where people quote, our chief executive is on it all of the time. It cuts down the email. It helps the communication. But we also put dashboards together, and we use it to provide insights, unearth themes, and do all of that stuff. Really powerful stuff going forward. The other thing that we're doing is, and I'm going to take you back to this slide, the amount of stuff that we've got in terms of desktop versus mobile. What we're finding is that we're having to change the way in which we present people. Now, websites are built traditionally HTML4. You get a series of templates for your desktop, and you think, actually, there's a lot of people coming in on a mobile. We'd better build a mobile website. So we've got a series of templates for our mobile site as well. So we've got 2 websites going. And then, of course, you've got tablets come along. So, what are we going to do now? Do you build one for tablets? Do you got stuffed browsers that are going into cars? Do you build one for cars? You could end up with 5, 6, 10 different websites. We've gone a different way. What we're doing is we're building one Nokia.com. We're calling it responsive. And it changes and morphs depending on the size of the device that you come in on. And we know what you've come in on, so we can serve you with the best thing. It's enabled by HTML5. But what I want to do is to give you a practical demonstration. This is a live recording of how it works. Now, instead of templates, we base it on components. That is a component. This is a component. And we have component libraries that are built to change and to morph. And this is how it works. So you flick up and down, you've got your desktop view, all lovely. Now, when you start to reduce the window size, look what happens. Check the copy. The copy's all changing in size, the font size goes down. This is all live. I haven't animated this. Goes back up again, and you can see what's going on. So depending on the device, we have breakpoints within our website, and everything will change on that one as well. Just give you another run through on a different page. If you went onto the Lumia or our compare page, bring everything down, going down from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. Any device can get this. And not only that, you make the experiences much less rich as you go down, so you can actually get a speedier experience on older devices. And we also start our design treatment not from progressive, graceful degradation, but progressive enhancement. We start here with the most difficult place. If you can get everything in there, you've done it. So, Marketing 101, right? And those of you who were here for the Google presentation earlier on will have heard this. And this is what we're doing. Now, we bought Navteq some time ago, and it's our mapping platform. We've been in it for about 20 years, and I'm just going to give you some of the numbers. Every day, 147 million map tiles are served, 1 billion search queries a year, 11 billion traffic probes per month. This is huge. People are all over the place. Now, we bring it into our products with the here city lens, here transit, and all these kind of things. Now, this is quite an interesting one here. I'll give you a quick insight on this. This is a live, you hold up your phone and you switch it around, and that is your camera. So that's your camera view, what you were doing. If you were looking down that street, you get there. What here does is it locates where you are, it knows what's around you, and it brings it up in front of you in your face. It's like heads-up virtual reality. It's brilliant. I've got it on my phone if anybody wants to see it. And this up here, it shows you what's around in 360 degrees. So as you turn it around, what's around you and in front of you will be there and show you. Now, look at this. There's a lot of businesses on here. And this is one of the challenges that I think people are going to get to. Site is going to become the new search. One of the questions that people need to ask themselves is, are they going to find you? I downloaded this on Friday. This is live data of the number of people using our platform. So you can start to see how we can see, how we can pull things together. I particularly like this bit up here. That one just above Stockholm, that's Finland. So there's a lot of people in Finland getting behind this. So I'm just going to summarize now. Our digital transformation story has been based on these things. Change is accelerating. You've got to adapt or die. And we nearly did, but we're on the road to recovery now. Simplicity is key to all of this, but it's really difficult. And it takes quite a lot of thinking and a lot of trial and error. Don't underestimate the need for cultural change. And I think in particular for the new generation coming through, the under-30s in here, you'll probably be getting very frustrated with some of the non-decisions that senior teams are making. Don't underestimate that. You're going to have to help them through it. And you're going to need to make a way of making the invisible visible. However you do it. Is it the Agora Socializer, bring it to life, presentations, whatever it is. Consumer habits are changing, keep on top of them. Give them easy access. That's why we've done our websites. Any way in. We don't care how they get to us. We just need to be able to provide it for them in the right place. And finally, the big one for me, location, location, location. That's where it's at. And I know that Google was saying that beforehand as well. So interestingly, we've come up with very similar technology trends, I think. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it from me, or as the Finns would say, kiitos.